Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq, with daily insight on the Nasdaq-100 index, or the NDX, which is made up of 100 of the largest domestic and international non-financial innovative companies listed on Nasdaq. The NDX has been the barometer for U.S. large cap growth and also one of the best performing indexes over the last decade and a half, not to mention one of the most liquid index ecosystems in the world. Joining me this Wednesday afternoon, we have Nick Kalivas, head factor and core equity product strategy, ETFs, and index strategies at Invesco to discuss Nasdaq-100 weekly performance. Nick, let's take a look at your first couple of charts that detail weekly performance and attribution.
All right, great. Thanks, Jill. So that's great to be here. Today, I'm gonna look at the Nasdaq-100 to QQQM this week. It's just like QQQ, but it does gives access through a SEC 40 Act ETF wrapper instead of a UIT trust-based structure like QQQ. And this is probably an option that's a little more interesting for buy and hold investors due to a lower expense ratio. But if you look at it, the NASDAQ was a little bit soft last week. It lagged the S&P 500 and the Russell by about 32 basis points and 71 basis points respectively. There was slight strength Monday, Tuesday, but that kind of reversed late week. And the macro data at the end of the day was probably a little bit of a headwind to more growthy strategies. The ISM survey of services was very strong, historically high. July payrolls jumped more than expected, 943,000, with a nice upward revision to the prior 2 months. We saw some inflation data in hourly earnings, especially looking at non-supervisory workers, where wages were up 4.7 year over year. But where that came to create the headwind for the Nasdaq 100 was really the rising 10-year yield. It rose about 18 basis points last week, and that created a headwind to growth stocks. It helped value stocks. It helped smaller stocks on a relative basis. And that rise in yield may have also been a bit, supported by this outlook for the infrastructure spend, which means the more stimulus kind of coming down the pipe. And again, that might have helped the smaller companies and the value-based companies. And so when we jump into attribution, you'll see that essentially the not having exposure to financials was the key drag there. Some of the growthier exposures to technology was a drag. And then the benefit, though, was healthcare.
And Nick, moving along to earnings, how did Nasdaq 100 companies perform last week, and just how much did estimates get revised for the year?
Yeah, so the Nasdaq 100 continues to knock it out of the park when it comes to earnings. And so we had 19 releases in the last week period. The average earnings surprise was 18.9%. I mean, that's big. And the sales surprise, the average surprise is 6.7%. So we continue to see very strong earnings outright and relative to expectation. I think I was a little disappointed that there wasn't better reaction to that, but I guess some of it's been priced. And really, when we look at earnings estimates here, it's really a strong story. If you look at the earnings estimates for 2022, from the start of the year to yesterday, up 17% in terms of upward revision in the earnings number. And it's really it seems like a coincidence, but it's not that much of a coincidence that year to date, the Nasdaq 100 is up 17%. So you see earnings estimates going up, and you see the price of the Nasdaq 100 going up.
And Nick, to wrap up here, finally, what companies were the top 10 contributors to the Nasdaq 100 for the week?
Yeah, so Moderna was kind of the star again. It was up 18% last week, and I was kind of looking. It's up 337% through yesterday for the year. So big gains there. 11% earnings beat there, and the Delta variant still helping the outlook for vaccine use. We also saw Costco have a nice same-store sales gain of 8.5%. And then Latin American e-commerce company, Mercado Libre, which I butchered there, was very strong, up 19% on the back of good revenues.
All right, Nick, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thanks for having me.